Crane signals and hand signals are an important part of our industry because we don't always have radios to talk to our crane operator. Sometimes we'll be a few hundred feet away from the crane operator, and though the crane operator may not be able to hear you yelling to him, he would be able to actually see a hand signal. The thumb indicates where the boom is going. So any crane signal that has the thumb predominantly, that means it's telling the crane operator what to do with the boom of the crane. So for instance, this would be extend the boom, which is 2 thumbs out facing outwards. This is retract the boom. Raise the boom looks like this. The thumb is going up. Lower the boom is the thumb pointing down. Again, the thumb directs where the boom is going to go. If I only have one hand in order to do a crane signal, so let's say that this hand is busy and I'm holding the rope, then I have to do the crane signal with one hand, the only hand that's available. In that case, extend the boom would look like this, the thumb pointing towards me. It's actually from the crane operator's point of view, so the boom is away from the crane operator, so that would mean extend the boom. This would be retract the boom, the thumb pointing towards the crane operator, meaning that he should bring the boom in or closer to him. This means raise the load, and this means lower the load. This is two of the most commonly used crane signals that we see in the tower industry. We use these signals when we talk to our winch operators. Even though they're not crane operators, we use the same signals. Sometimes we can give a crane operator 2 signals with one. So this would mean boom up and lower the load. So the thumb is boom up, and then the moving your fingers in and out means that they should lower the load. Conversely, if you boom down and do this, it's boom down and raise the load. There are a couple versions of stop that we use. This is regular stop. This is emergency stop. And this is dog everything. So if you're just using regular stop, we're giving the crane signal to the operator and then we tell him to stop. Emergency stop is the only signal where you're waving your hands and flailing about. Dog everything is a stop where you're actually securing the load and maybe waiting. It's not necessarily a stop and then you're going to go into other motion. It's actually securing the load. This is swing right and swing left. They're really easy commands because you're basically pointing your hand in the direction you want the operator to swing the crane boom. So even though we say this is swing left, the crane operator is simply going to move the crane boom in the direction you're pointing. There are a couple crane signals that we don't use very often, and one of them is use main hoist. Your crane operator is actually going to determine which hoist he's going to use on his piece of equipment, but if you needed to direct the operator to use the main hoist, that's how you would do it, simply placing your hand on top of your head. If you want the operator to use the whip line or auxiliary hoist, it would be like this. The signals are completely different. We don't use these very often, but it's a good way to indicate you want the crane operator to switch. If you're on the main hoist, which would look like this, and you want him to switch to auxiliary, you can make this motion. Finally, travel. Travel looks like this. You use both hands, and what you're doing is simply pointing in the direction you want the operator to physically move his crane. Again, we don't use this very often, but when you do, any way that you actually place both of your hands is indication to the crane operator that the entire crane unit has to move to where you're pointing. Finally, the last one that we use is a little bit. This means move slowly. You'll frequently see it depicted like this. This means that the operator is hoisting the cable, and then when you put this little lid on it or this little hat on the signal, that means to do the operation slowly. If you only have one hand available and you're giving the crane operator a signal like this, which means hoist, if you do this, that means hoist slowly. So just because you don't have the lid over it, if you actually make that motion, the crane operator will know to slow down his motion.